of what fights could look like and all that. But I've got to go tweets, so if you would not mind, Zombie Girl, starting off these intros for me.
Okay. In the top right, as the blue Terran, it's the evil genius XenoCider.
And of course, there's in his opponent, the bottom left is going to be the red. Sorry, pardon me, Zerg player SortOf. Now, again, we were getting some player just general opinions on things while we're waiting, and Snoot says that swarm hosts are ridiculously OP on this map. We'll take a quick turn in a moment. I just got to finish tweeting for the.
Oh, I see how.
Alright, so there's my tweet. It's out. Go retweet it if you guys can. Let's take a quick look around. The double zoom out so we can get as far as we can. Big, wide open main. Natural base looks very, actually, standard. I actually really like the choke here. This kind of looks like a Nidus Worm's burrowing, by the way.
Here's my question about this map. Can you unload on the low ground next to the main, to the left of the main? To the left of, well, or there.
Oh, wait. You mean up here, or...?
No, to the left of SortOf's main.
Oh, I imagine not. This kind of reminds me of like the beach area on Catalina and stuff. I doubt you could unload over here.
It just really looks like you should be able to.
Yeah, I agree. And that'd be super duper abusive because there's no way Lynx could ever get there. So there's just no way they would ever let that be a thing.
Right? I don't know about like. I think you should make it look like it does that. I just gotta say it. Like, it shouldn't look like you should unload. It should be like, no, there's like debris down there, or no, there's
or
forest
a different tile set or something.
Yeah, like, so it's the only thing I really want to change so far. But we don't want to talk about the swarm host. I probably won't see swarm host in this matchup unless the insider decides to go mech.
It's sort of though. Listen, I mean, sort of comes from the clan Swarm H on Europe after all.
But you, I mean, unless he's gonna try and copy Snoot, which rarely people do, or he is gonna try and go Roach Hydra into Swarm Host, then we're not gonna see it. Like, we're not gonna see it willy-nilly like we would against Protoss.
So what I really like, just as this quick glance goes on, sorry guys, we're not exactly being the greatest tour directors right now, is this third base, this looks like a really nice map for fast 3 bases. So I don't know if that's going to really contribute to what becomes OP or not, but I mean, right now the trend kind of is that 3 bases are falling off for most, Zerg especially, but I don't know, I like this, because, okay, this is the double ramps you got to defend, but it's really one choke that you really have to fight in, then maybe the back rocks later, but you continue expanding that direction anyways.
Do you?
Well, you could, I guess, unless you want to go south. But then that just kind of spreads your opening even further. I would say it's actually more vulnerable to take this as your fourth than this one. Maybe, I don't know.
But yeah, it's actually more questionable than I think the thirds we've been asking about, because the reason I'm looking at is that the fourth, if you take it to the top, you're going through a very small choke to defend it from your third. So like, imagine Vikings parked up that versus Colossus running through it or something like that.
Well, the Reaper's coming across the map. We're not going to stop at 2. I'm really wondering if this is because XenoCider wants to test the the effectiveness of Reapers on this map, or if he's just actually going for it. Oh, do those rocks block it out? Those rocks block Reapers.
Yeah, that's true, but it's still technically 3 areas, because I think you can get it behind the ramp over there. Yeah, but 3 areas.
That's kind of like... Okay, it's not as bad as King Stage on, but you have to go a long distance around just to get to the other Reaper spot.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, guys, you're going to hear a lot of wrong opinions today and a lot of debates, and we want you guys to be raising your own questions just so that you can, you know, leave feedback on Team Liquid. Say, oh, these stupid casters were wrong. I played on this map and this happened, because everything that goes on with today, like, okay, it's a cool tournament and there's some prize money associated with it, but we're trying to figure out how to refine the maps to get the best map and possibly have any of these go transfer to the ladder map pool for next season. So,
Yo, I imagine Lily doing a lot of proxies on the... on the bottom right, like, look how much dead space is in SortOf's base. Like, put a factory right there. SortOf was Protoss. Lift the
oh
factory.
Yeah, you can proxy the factory and lift it.
Oh
but I imagine though, before you get too sad about that, a lot of Protoss players got really aware that that was a thing, and we saw the third pylons, or even the second pylon, start coming down close to the cliffs to prevent precisely that. One of my proxies were so big and so trendy for a long time, and they just started getting shut down because of pylon placement.
For the first week, no one's gonna know. Exact same thing with Dark Templars. When they were buffed, you know, they got the decreased money. I was like, they're going to be doing it for the next 2 weeks. And people still died to it.
Yeah.
Kind of an early well, okay, so I guess he hasn't gotten any scouting until now, so unfortunately that Banelance didn't have to come down at this point, but he was being safe.
Lord gets picked off. It's nice for XenoCider.
Oh,
I'm just wondering, like, let's say you take a faster third CC on this as Terran, right?
Sure.
No, okay, you're not going to worry about the rocks, but you're still going to have to worry about this choke, which is admittedly fairly large. So I'm wondering, and hear me out, let's say you're one of these ridiculous players, like HTO Mario, who would do, like, racks first on the low ground in some instances of his mech builds. Do you try something absurd like walling this off? Like,
yeah,
that's crazy.
Probably. If you're absurd like that, I mean, we're probably not going to see that many supply depot wall-offs either. That's going to have to be something that's, you know, special. Like, don't get surrounded here. It's dangerous.
Yeah, he's getting really hungry for that queen. The Reaper's got a lot of damage, but the Hellions got to clean out those lings. But it looks like SortOf's going to hold on to his third. And this is what I like about this, by the way. Like, this is really not too far from the natural. It's fairly easily accessible, and you can defend it without stressing. These queens are not going to be out of position for a Banshee that goes and hits the natural at the same time.
It's also up a ramp, so you can just, you know, the Hellions are going to have more difficulty as opposed to if it was just like overgrowth where there's no ramp or anything to help you defend that third.
I hate that this spot exists, by the way. I just want to...
I love that spot exists as a Zerg player.
No, here's what I hate. They're like, oh, Terran get little high ground nooks that they can put 6 Marines on? Better nerf that. But Zerg get free scouting forever?
Okay,
now,
this is totally not fair.
This is not me calling imba, but I'm just saying it's interesting that they take into account force field locations. Like, they can't make tiny chokes on a map because force fields exist. They can't leave little nooks on the top of a ramp like this because Terran exists. But the one thing that never seems to get counted for is, like, Zerg exists. Like, well, who cares?
Oh, I think you're completely, like, incorrect about this. They did account for that, and they intentionally put that there. They want the Overlord to be able to see what's coming out of the natural ramp in most scenarios. I mean, imagine all the maps we have now. Catalina has one. Deadwing, or sorry, not Deadwing. Although Deadwing, does Deadwing have one? I can't remember. I was gonna go with King Sejong has one. It's actually a very important part about Zerg's strategy is having that little, that nook up there.
I guess, yeah.
The one thing that I think they have to take into account is how easy it is, not versus Terran, but versus Protoss to see the
3 gateways, the 2 gateways, the forge.
Well, I was going with the gases actually. Yes, the gateways too, but you know, on Catalina, your Overlord is you can't kill it until you get something that actually hits air because it just roams off to the third or whatever, even if the stalker pops out and most troops out. So it's right next to the gas geysers. So if you don't have 2 gases, they're like, what are you doing? So on this map, it dies before it sees the gases, potentially.
Okay, so I'm just making sure there's no back rocks that have to be cut off on this one, and you could just go straight to those rocks on the backside if you wanted to. Interestingly enough, XenoCider actually doesn't have vision of it, so sort of just left 2 lanes chipping away on it the whole game, and they would eventually fall and maybe catch something like Xeno off guard. Because I mean, this is it for Terran. You don't typically expand further this way. You're not going to be walling this off habitually. Engagement in the middle of the map, though. Banelings are going to collide, but he picks a lot up in those medevacs. Nice saves out of XenoCider, but looks like those Hellions are pretty much damned at this point. Saves a couple, a small handful. One of the Reapers going there, too.
I am surprised XenoCider walled this off. This is ambitious wall-off.
Yeah, so this is kind of what I was getting at, though. It's not just that it's an ambitious wall-off, right? It's a very expensive wall-off. If Banelings take this down, if a Roach snipes off a depot, 1 or 2 is not that big of a deal, but this is a wall where you're going to get supply blocked, and you won't be able to reinforce yourself because of it.
He's also not done it correctly. It could have been a much, I think, 1 supply depot less if he just went diagonal, like completely.
That's very true.
He made it the most awkward wall-off. It's an L. It's an L for Lebo.
It's not even an L. It's like an R, a lowercase R.
It means like 1 supply depot on the top. Yeah.
Like, do you not know what an L looks like, Zombie Robe?
It's an upside down L. Excuse
no, it's an R. It's an R.
No, an R needs like an R. Okay, what kind of R's are you making, alright?
The one I just typed in chat.
That doesn't look like an R. That would be like an R that's made with like a squiggly wiggly at the end.
Oh my god. Okay,
like,
Twitch chat.
Lazy,
if this looks like a weird L that Zombie Robe's saying, you know, it actually looks like an F kind of.
It's actually near. Yeah.
If it's an L, type 1 in chat. If it's totally a lowercase R, type 2.
It's neither. It's not a straight enough line. Or a rounded enough line.
Stupidest argument ever. Okay, so actually, I'm loving the way you can possibly use Widowmines on the map. There's a lot of chokes here. And while we don't have Protoss right now, this map looks like a map that's going to be really good for force fields as well. Unlike Van Eye Research Station as an example, it's almost the direct foil of that map. Van Nuys just got so many wide open and terrible no spore crawler locations, but this map's got a lot, or not spore, force field locations. This map's got a lot of nice chokes.
So while we were debating about the stupid LR thing, 1,
Live reaction?
he went for Corruptors. 2, he went for the top left base as his 4th base.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Tearing down the rocks. I mean, again, this just makes a little more sense to me because you want to stay far away. You don't typically expand towards your opponent. If you're going to split the map, taking this base just seems less intuitive. And I only say it's because the base layout really reminds me of Daybreak a little bit.
Oh, interesting, yeah. Well, I think it's... I look at Zerg and I'm like, that's definitely the better one to take, but still as a... You know what? Maybe not. Huh. I don't know. Because the attack path seems to be straight through the middle. Like, that one's obvious, right?
Oh,
so yeah, I guess either or would be okay.
Oh,
but definitely for Zerg. What?
Just so many banelings.
Well, it looks like you have to Broodlords, and you bring up Daybreak, and now Broodlords are on the way, and I'm just like,
Well, the Corruptors are a really interesting choice for me. They did what they needed to do, and they picked up the Medivacs, which are cool. But they don't have them... They can't attack ground the same way Mutalisks can, so I'm not sure just how great versus bad this was, but one of my shot damage minimalized, quick reactions out of SortOf. XenoCider is slowly cleaning up the creeping. It's so frustrating as a Tampa player because you have to wait so long for it to recede, but it's better that he does this because it invests in future engagements. It limits the areas SortOf can really take better engagements than you can.
Yeah. Alright, so you know how Snoop mentioned Swarm Hosts, and for the most part I imagine versus Protoss.
Like
but
this
imagine
part,
it's 16 minutes, Snoop would have a couple of Swarm Hosts by now. Use the park in one spot. It's so...
And that's what's it, because like, let's say you get middle map control, it's kind of like King of the Hill. You can actually send them out to several different base locations from this middle point of the map.
Oh, that's gross. I'm guessing with Enduring Locust, it'd reach all of those bases too. Well, at least the top one. Nice
Widowmine shot at his team. That one's got 23 kills on it. What a badass.
Wait, doesn't he be like commander or anything?
Is he dropping his own main? What's going on here?
Yes. Yes, he is.
Alright, Creep Team is starting to get cleaned up once again. Sort of did pull back a little bit. His Baneling count is getting out of control. He's coming up on his 3-3 as well. And,
oh, Widowmine.
I don't know, it's going to take some really good hits. There are a lot of Widowmines here in the middle of the map. Some of these hits are looking pretty good. Taking out a lot of the lanes is just as good as taking a lot of Banelings, but of course the Banelings are better targets, but going off of Creep sort of knows not to over-dedicate. Trying to pull back, but his supply count is just plummeted through this engagement, and XenoCider now up almost double the army supply. And what's furthermore is these aren't Mutalisks, these are Corruptors taking up this very important supply.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing about going for Corruptors. I know, what was it, who was it, Dark? Was doing it in Pro League, and people were like, oh my god, new meta and whatnot. But the thing about Corruptors is that you don't get to pick off the Marauders. You know, the 4 Marauders that come forward, tank up all the Baneling shots. That's annoying to deal with. You don't have the mutas for that. You don't have the mutas to take down the Widowmines either. They're just good for taking on the Medivacs and being, you know, a little bit heftier.
Well, Xeno, he might have got cleaned up with that main attack pushing forward, but his drop of the main did great damage. His drop in the north cleared out an entire base. He's now killing more drones. 24 workers dead throughout this entire set of attacks, and this is pretty good for XenoCider because he also, on top of all this, beat back so much creep.
Yeah. XenoCider's in a very commanding position here. As you can see, he's up 40 supply. I thought he was going to go for Broodlords because he got Corruptors, but he goes for Ultralisk.
Just want to shout out all the overwhelming amount of 2s in chat today, by the way. What's up, guys? Alright, so this was a great leap ahead for SortOf in the early game, but he did leave XenoCider alone. Without that Mutalisk harass, there was nothing to keep him from just rallying through like this, to keep him from just clumping up his units. Now, if you're going to go for a style that's like really Zergling, Baneling dominant with no Mutalisk at all involved, we've seen that work, but the investment in the Corruptors took away from so much of that. Every Corruptor is like 4-something-ish Banelings that he could have otherwise had.
Yeah. Not liking how he's used the Corruptors.
I mean,
apparently,
it's cool. I like the idea, I really do. But yeah, they didn't really get the best use of this game. And oh my god, that Widowmine! I didn't get to click him before it died, but it killed like 20 Zerglings, like 9 drones. So it was a great shot.
Those are pretty good Baneling shots, but
I think it might not still be enough. XenoCider's not rallying; he's clumping up back at home, and if he loses what's over here, it's really not that big of a deal. There's so much more behind this for him. He's coming up on 3-3, in fact, just finishing now. But we do have SortOf actually moving to Ultras, and he did get the Hive Tech. He is on his own 3-3, so while this hasn't been going so well for him in the mid-game, he's not exactly out of the game just yet. But that supply deficit is going to be really hard to overcome.
I can't believe how much SortOf has gotten away with expanding. Yeah, XenoCider took out the bases, or a lot of drones too, but he just re-expands, and for the most part, that entire top side isn't really being touched. Like, there's no attack path that would go up there. It is just going to be drops.
Well, front lines still poised. It's funny that he even went for another Thor, by the way. I mean, there's no Mutalisks made this game.
This map reminds me of another map. Oh, no, now I have it. It's going to bother me. Hold on.
Well, we got a couple Marines left in the main. Drop segments over here to the natural. Ultras looking for where they can go. Banelings here on the front lines, but the Ultras really need to be with them. Oh my god, the Widowmines kill so many of the Banelings! And then Ultras remains untouched. This guy should have been what soaked the damage! Now, Ultras are pretty damn good, but unfortunately not alone. And you need like Infestors or Mutalisks or something to support these. Certainly the Banelings alone don't cut it. SortOf is just kind of struggling and floundering. He loses almost all the drones in the natural base. Main base guy finally cleaned up. The hatchery, that hive, it's almost dead or halfway.
XenoCider is going to win this game.
That's, wow, I'm loving the position here you take with the Marines. You just walk in, you don't even have to drop for this. Set right behind that mineral line.
So, as regards to ZVT, it seems like the early game is pretty damn good, because you got that nice ramp, that'll be with the third. But then when it comes